mentioned, and I like the dichotomy between, I guess, your personal finances and those of the state. And I will certainly have a lot of questions about Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly, but we're dealing with you first of all, and the man on the street before we talk about the THA. Now, frankly, I've seen situations, we here at Syria have seen situations where persons who have um, gone to achieved high office in the not too recent past, to be quite frank, falling on hard times in the latter stages of their lives. I know personally of a couple of cases where persons who um, would have served Tobago, served even in its chambers, in the latter stages of their lives, being in a position where they certainly had financial difficulties. And a number of, I guess, reasons behind that. So I just want to know if you could comment on some of those issues and how you, Mr. Augustine, I guess, putting your house in order in the in that sense, because we often have a saying, it's not so much how much you make, but how much you keep at the end of the month that matters. So I just want to know how does Fali Augustine manage his finances, given that, to be quite frank, the life of a politician isn't typically not a very long one in our part of the world, man.
Well, you see, it's the life of a politician is like an incredible high, and you expect at some point, perhaps even unceremoniously, for you to be knocked off that height. And the way our system operates, the financial institutions really, despite how much you are paid as a politician, they really don't trust you for long-term financial engagements, because they know that the position that you're in is essentially temporary, and is a contract that has to be renewed every 4 or 5 years, and it may or may not be renewed. There is no sense of certainty in it, and it's unfortunate, and it all goes back to the question of whether we pay our elected officials enough uh, or not. And I won't venture there, because I know the public generally feels that elected officials generally are paid enough, and that's enough for them. But it's also a high risk, high stake employment scenario. And what you find happening is that during the life of the politician, if you are not careful, then you can end up in a position thereafter where you really have nothing to fall back on. And it may not mean that the politician did not, or the politician wasted their monies. And I'll give you an example. When you sit where I sit, there is a temptation to expend a lot of your monies on doing community work. I mean, there's always a funeral, a christening, a harvest, some school books to purchase. And the easiest thing to always do is to swipe your card or to transfer some monies. In fact, some moments before coming to this meeting, this interview, I transferred over $2,000 from my account to someone else's account, right? And that is just charity that you just find yourself doing. And if you don't manage your personal portfolio well, then you'll run into problems. And so what has to happen is that you have to have a robust saving plan. So for me, I know if I am to save, it can't be anywhere where I can touch it or access it, because I will find things to do with the money. So I ensure that I invest in insurance policies, and I invest in policies that take care of retirement, health for myself and family, education for my daughter, and a policy that will consider what should happen for my family if I should die unexpectedly, that they will have access to some kind of income. So that is one way of me securing the bag for the future, by putting some things away in a place where I can't touch it. The second thing is you have to find a way to invest in property early, And I'm saying this and smiling because I think I am late. I am late in investing in property. I am currently at the financial institution at the bank, sort of trying to sort out mortgage and so on. But ideally, that investment should be made very early in the term, early in the tenure, because you want to not just secure but have considerable amounts of payments inside, so that in the event that you end up jobless at the end of the term, you have payments in advance. Your payments are in advance, and you could take a cool 3 to 6 months to find another job and know that your payments on your property was advanced in a sense.
Right.
So that's another strategy to use. So when I finalize my mortgage and get through with that, my next step is to ensure that my payments are advanced, that I pay more than the bank require into the mortgage, just in case, just in case. 4 years from now, to be going to change your mind. Well, not 4 years, 2 years from now, to be going to change your mind. Change your mind, and I am left trying to figure out how I'm going to get income and so on. So that is important. And the third thing is, and this is a general life lesson, please, please have a skill. So young business people, even if you're a mature professional, go and learn a skill, because that's one thing that cannot be taken from you. So if in a moment you ought to lose your job, and COVID happened and many people lost jobs, but the people who really thrived during COVID are the people who had skills they can fall back on. The people who knew that they could go into the kitchen and bake and cook and drive and deliver food. The people who knew that they could make juices and punches and get into agro-processing. The people who knew that they could go farming and they could rear animals, and there was something they could do with their hands that was marketable, that was saleable, that they could now earn from. Every human being should have a skill that they could earn from, so that even if you can't be employed, as I am, at least you can earn an income doing something with your hands. That is critical, because it may be a politician who may not be re-elected, but you may be a regular employee that the company end up falling through, or you end up having a situation where another pandemic happens. You just have to be prepared for any eventuality, and that's just life.